Let's go back to the Google Hangout for Mark Kantrowitz, the publisher of Advisors Network and author and nationally recognized expert on student financial aid. And Mark, coming out of that emotional interview, and then also something we heard at the table before, it seems student loans have changed over the years. I think we heard 6.8% on a student loan. A lot of people are doing a lot better on their home loans.
Well, the home loans are variable rates often, and home equity line of credit is a variable interest rate, and we're comparing the 6.8% as a fixed rate. If you fast forward a few years, when the Federal Reserve stopped suppressing interest rate changes, that home equity line of credit may be 6 percentage points higher than it is today. So even though it doesn't seem like it, the Stafford loan interest rate of 6.8% is a pretty good deal.
I believe there was some news today, and I'm sorry to spring this on you, but we just saw before the show tonight that there is an effort in the U.S. Senate to perhaps tie student loan rates to bank rates to try to get them to come down. Real quickly, do you like that idea?
Well, the problem with the proposal in the Senate and also the president's similar proposal is the interest rates are not capped. So it may initially have a lower interest rate, but a few years from now, students may be paying double-digit interest rates. The versions that were recently introduced in the House by both the Republicans and the Democrats, slightly different proposals, both involve a cap on the interest rate.
Okay,
but it would be possible to have a plus loan at the double digits, even with one of those caps.
We heard the word crisis earlier tonight. Can you give us your perspective? Do you agree with that word, and why?
Well, most students are able to graduate with a reasonable amount of debt, and so long as your total student loan debt at graduation is less than your annual starting salary, you'll be able to pay back your student loans in 10 years or less. The average debt at graduation for a bachelor's degree wasn't six-figure debt like that example given, but rather $27,000 last year. The average starting salary for a bachelor's degree is, depending on which data source you use, $35,000 or $45,000. But those are averages. I mean, some students borrow more and earn less. And that's the key. And when the student loan debt for an individual student is greater than their annual starting salary, they're going to struggle to make the payments on those loans. If it's federal loans, they'll be able to get income-based repayment to afford those monthly payments because they'll be based on their income as opposed to the amount they owe. But private student loans, you don't have that option. Now, 3% of all borrowers are in income-based repayment or variation. So that suggests that this isn't a widespread problem. On the other hand, my calculations suggest that maybe 3 times as many students, about 10% of students, could benefit from an income-based repayment plan.
Have things changed? We've kind of heard anecdotally here tonight that this landscape of student loan debt has changed over the last 10, 20, maybe 30 years. What do you say?
Well, it goes back further than that. It goes back 4 decades. Federal and state governments have been cutting their support of post-secondary education on a per-student constant dollar basis. Despite all the rhetoric about the total dollar amount, the per-student figures have been going down, causing a decline in college affordability. Family incomes over the last decade haven't increased. The only form of financial aid with any degree of elasticity is the student loans. So the debt at graduation has been going up year after year after year. In addition, the low-income students have been shifting their enrollment from the higher-cost colleges to the lower-cost colleges, such as from the private nonprofit colleges to the public colleges, from 4-year institutions to 2-year institutions, which is responsible for a sharp decline in bachelor degree attainment by these low-income students. They're increasingly being priced out of a college education.
Do you see this as a problem for the rest of us, if you will, besides the students who have this debt balance sheet to look at in the mail?
Well, and cutting support of post-secondary education is very short-sighted. Someone with a bachelor's degree pays more than double the federal income tax of someone with just a high school diploma. So by cutting the number of bachelor degree recipients, we're going to force the rest of us to pay more in federal income taxes at some point, or cut the benefits that are provided by the federal government. Either way is not good for the economy.
I offered a magic wand to someone earlier. I'll offer it to you. What do you see that needs to be changed?
Well, first and foremost, we need to double or even triple the federal Pell Grant. so that more low-income students can obtain a college degree. Low-income students are twice as likely to graduate with student loan debt as non-recipients, and the average amount of debt is about $3,000 higher. And that's a sign that the grants are inadequate presently.
So do you see this more as a systemic problem, or it's a problem that can be addressed, say, legislatively, or do you see this also kind of on the individual level where that we need to address this issue as well and make changes?
Well, in many cases, and half of college students are traditional students straight out of high school. What 17-year-old has experience with financial literacy and making smart borrowing decisions? We need to have better disclosures, such as the financial aid shopping sheet and college scorecard. And we also need to teach them the skills and provide them with tools to help them evaluate that information. We need to have financial literacy training in the secondary school curriculum and refresher courses when a student first arrives on college campus.